We've seen cloud cover permitting. People across parts of Asia and North America have been treated to a spectacular astronomical event.
While part of the world watched the annular solar eclipse in May 20th and May 21st, popularly called Ring of Fire, that displayed a ring of sunlight around the moon. As it passed between Earth and the Sun, a series of synchronized events took place during the weekend, suggesting that the creepy astronomical alignment was a stage to the secret agenda of the shadow government, the Illuminati dark Kabbalah and their occult rituals that the masses unfortunately fail in notice.
On a day when 2 more NATO soldiers were confirmed dead, the politicians honoured all who've fallen in Afghanistan.
The first event that seems to have been purposely scheduled to occur during the sinister annular eclipse was the NATO summit in Chicago, that at first sight would be the likely stage for a false flag event of violent nature, a terrorist attack or something to justify the massive police state apparatus in the city. Though later the whole scenario of urban conflicts between the Chicago police and protesters seemed to have served as a distraction to keep the worldwide attention in the United States, while a bloody plot was about to take place somewhere else, more precisely in the Middle East, early in the morning of Monday.
By any standards, this was a huge and deadly explosion aimed right at the heart of the Yemen military.
A huge bomb attack to a military base in Sana'a, capital of Yemen, that killed over 100 people and left other hundreds of critically injured, in a moment when troops prepared for a parade of national unification. Despite the fact that mainstream media is selling the story of a suicide terrorist attack led by Al-Qaeda, I believe that this heinous mass murder was a human sacrifice made by the Illuminati, few hours after the eclipse. For the record, the Yemen's capital Sana'a, which means light, or brilliant in Arab, was the main center for operations of the American-born CIA double agent, Anwar al-Awlaki, connected to 9/11 attacks in New York, and allegedly killed in 2011.
Less than 6 months after terrorists hijacked Flight 77 and struck the Pentagon, FBI documents obtained as part of an ongoing Fox investigation state that Anwar al-Awlaki, now the first American on the CIA's killer capture list, was a lunch guest of the military. The documents, including an FBI interview conducted after the Fort Hood shootings in November 2009, state that Awlaki was escorted to the Pentagon as part of the military's outreach to the Muslim community in the immediate aftermath of the attacks. After being vetted by a Defense Department employee, quote, Awlaki was invited to and attended a luncheon at the Pentagon in the Secretary of the Army's Office of Government Counsel. At that period of time, the Secretary of the Army was eager to have a presentation from a moderate Muslim. The Defense Department employee said Awlaki was viewed after 9/11 as, quote, an up-and-coming member of the Muslim community, though a former FBI agent believes it was all part of an act by the cleric.
It's not only appropriate, but it's considered a good thing to lie to your enemy if it'll advance the cause you're fighting for.
Awlaki, who is the imam at this mosque in Falls Church, Virginia, was interviewed at least 4 times by the FBI in the first week after 9/11 because of his previous contact with 3 of the hijackers who struck the Pentagon. This information was apparently never reviewed by the Pentagon. After repeated requests for comment on the vetting process, an Army spokesman insisted that the lunch was not an Army event, but rather it was sponsored by the Office of the Secretary of Defense. A spokeswoman there said she would look into it. In Washington, Catherine Herridge, Fox News.
Nearly 30 of the world's crowned sovereigns have come to London to mark the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Their host tonight at a grand Buckingham Palace dinner was the Prince of Wales.
The next event that drew my attention took place 2 days before the eclipse, at the Windsor Castle in London, which gathered dozens of royal bloodlines from various nations, to a luncheon for Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee. The presence of tyrants and bloodthirsty kings of Middle East and Africa among the guests of the Illuminati Witch Queen, reunited to a ceremony prior to of a sinister astronomical convergence, seemed to paint a very likely scenario of human sacrifices for the ongoing weekend.
Curtail demands for greater democracy. All were warmly welcomed. They posed for a group photograph. 27 kings and queens, an emperor from Japan, a sultan from Brunei, an emir from Qatar. There was even a Grand Duke from Luxembourg.
For that matter, 2 days later, in the very same day of the annular eclipse, the Russian construction tycoon Mikhail Kravchenko, who supposedly was the lover of Princess Michael of Kent, was ambushed and killed in Moscow with several gunshots. Her husband, the Prince Michael of Kent, is cousin of the Queen Elizabeth, and a stooge of the British royal family for Russian relations, and despite the mainstream media is selling the story of mafia assassination, the odds are that the Russian playboy was killed by having publicly humiliated a member of royal Illuminati bloodlines.
Back at the palace, the crowned heads were at
The royal couple attended the Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee luncheon.
reign within democracies, but one or two who don't.
Zuckerberg, the Facebook phenom, changing his relationship status to married in a secret wedding ceremony this weekend. ABC's weekend anchor Dan Harris.
The last event is not a blood sacrifice, but it is also an Illuminati ceremony synchronized with the annular eclipse. The wedding of Facebook mogul and CIA stooge Mark Zuckerberg, that took place in a secret ceremony in Palo Alto, California, on Saturday. By some reason, one of the most prominent and important puppets for the New World Order conveniently chose to marry in the same weekend when a ring of fire was displayed in the sky.
At least take off the hoodie and put on a suit and a loosened tie for his...
I have no doubts in my mind that any of these events happened in synchronicity with the annular eclipse, by random chances. The odds are that they were carefully scheduled to take place as the moon went to obscure the solar disk and display a tenuous ring in the sky. Whatever is the ritualistic occult meaning of this celestial event to the members of the Dark Kabbalah, death of humans and world domination surely were part of their plans for the weekend. Make no mistakes, my friends, the timing between the eclipse, the NATO summit in Chicago, the mass murder in the capital of Yemen, which bears the meaningful name of Light and Brilliance, as well as the assassination of the affair of an Illuminati princess, and the secret wedding of the man who holds personal information of almost 1 billion people worldwide, definitely is no coincidence.